Now, me personally, I usually get in these situations where I just come upstairs to have a strawberry yoo-hoo, and it led to this. I brought my compound bow down, and I usually shoot recurve, but it's good to know these things before you get invested into something, and uh, we prepare for all sorts of things. You you know, reloaders focus on reloading supplies, and kind of like myself. And well, if you're into archery, you have to make sure you stay up on your archery supplies as well. That goes with good carbon arrows, and whichever arrows you choose to use, and just maintenance, general maintenance of a compound bow. Don't let them get too nasty. You can clean these up. It does not, if you get mud or dirt on, a lot of folks don't talk about this. If you get mud or dirt on them, if you're out in the field and you're wandering around, you drop one and you end up getting mud all over it. This is the M1. A lot of folks like this one. And it comes with all the bells and whistles, LED. You can glow in the dark, level, 5 pin. You got the whole nine right here. But replacement parts for stuff like this is important to know, to have replacement parts for everything. Um, every single item that would go out on this particular bow, I have replacements for every single item on here. And most, you got to check to see if they come with that. I even have a backup string for restringing. Why? You still have to have, of course, you have to have some sort of jig to do replacement stringing, but bows like this one are a bit easier to restring with this compound bow than some of your other compound bows out there, due to the fact this version has a selector for the pound, so you can adjust the pounds of the draw weight of the compound bow. You can take the tension off from here on both sides, keep them balanced. Two Allen keys on both sides. You can release and relax the bow down, and when you get it relaxed, you can change the string on it. Okay, so if you're in a bug out situation, here comes the question. Someone's going to ask it. They always do. If you're in a bug out situation, I'm carrying a compound bow with me. There's not a bow shop nearby. What on earth do I do? Well, you have to know this. What I'm telling you right now. If you have a bow that's like this, you check the tensioner, and if you need to make these longer, you can do about a ½ inch longer in this bolt, so that you can get a little bit more relaxed when you're changing this out, if you needed to change the string out. And something to keep in mind, and you can reuse certain items like your knock and everything else. You can reuse that stuff, so you don't throw that stuff out when you're changing one of these out. But you need to make sure you have something like this, and some Teflon, some Teflon cordage, things not Teflon, but Kevlar cordage, some good Kevlar Teflon cordage, so that you can do your wraps in these general areas where it requires a fold in the line. That's with that. Soap and water, like I was saying, you can wash these off with soap and water or something like that. They make other things for cleaning compound bows, because they get dusty, they get dirty, and you got to clean them up. The other thing you want to run through and do general maintenance of, I've already done these two. These two are already locked, and look, I got tired of buying the thread lock stuff for my broadheads, all my different types of arrowheads. I got tired of doing that. I gotta wipe these down. I got tired of doing all that. So what I did, I to do all my knocks and everything, I continue to use Gorilla Glue. I take this guy here and unthread it, and then I slap a little bit on the thread right here and here. That's all you need. Just a little dab. Just like you would, because that's all the thread lock, the knock glue is basically. Basically, that's all it is. So you're paying a ton of money. It's like a buck more when you could have just bought freaking Gorilla Glue. And you don't even get as much. You get like this small amount of glue. Boo, what on earth are you doing, child? Are you walking all around me, girl? I wanted to share this a little bit with you guys, but I just do general maintenance, and this also goes the same for crossbows. Now, if you have a recurve crossbow, I have both. I have the recurve crossbow, and I have the compound. Both of those crossbows are a bit different because the recurve I can change out in the field without doing all the extra stuff because it's a recurve. You break down a recurve the same way you break down a recurve. You just use your leg or a couple of trees that are put together. You can bend it in place, release it, and then reapply the string. Take the original string, size it with your replacement string, and get the exact length before you slap it on, and then put it back on. Recurves like that. All recurves are like that. They're real easy to replace the bowstring for them, and that also goes with this. You want to use the same technique if you're replacing those items. It's good to go through and do this stuff. I'm doing maintenance today. I'm just making sure this thing's up to par because if everyone's, we end up in situations where we say, I better go grab my bow or something like that, and you didn't do all these little maintenance details, and you didn't have all the replacement parts for these things. I got replacement parts for everything. That's part of a prep. If you're going to keep a compound bow, keep the replacement parts for it as well, and also make sure you go through and double check all of your arrows because some of them could be wrong. The knock could be in the wrong position. On a compound bow, the knock is in a different position than a recurve bow. See how it's turned this way. Whereas on a recurve bow, generally, I got to check this knock. Okay, that one's good. Generally, it's the other way because the different colored fin out of 3 is the one that goes outward left-hand side. Or if you're shooting left-handed, because there's 2 different ways to shoot. If you shoot left-handed or right-handed, this will be on the outside, and the knock will be facing the other direction. It's completely different. So you can always make a quick. If you do this often, you can just quickly glance at it. And terminology for me, I'm more of a. I know how it all works pretty good, and I know where everything should be and how it works, right? Terminology is always my problem. I always have a hard time remembering the exact name of every little thing. I always have that problem when it comes to explaining stuff. But I can, like, if I was just completely muted right now, I could take you through, and then people would be, "Whoa, that's crazy." Versus me being able to talk the whole time. These guys, generally, you don't need certain things. I like to keep this one here. I modified this one because it wasn't equipped correctly, and I wanted to be able to pull these out from the bottom, and I wanted to make sure that didn't hit anything. The way it was set up, it didn't have this on the bottom of it, and the way it was. That's right. It was way up here, and I modified it to come way down here to even this out because this was too high, and those kept dragging because they were hanging down too low when I was shooting, and it got on my nerves. So, because what I do is when I shoot, I pull. This is upside down, and I pull from the bottom, and then I grab my next arrow just like that. I pull from the bottom to grab my next arrow to load. Every time I do that, I don't keep them loaded at the top and yank them down because you could damage them. It's easier to just grab them from the bottom when they're down here like this. If you're grabbing them from the bottom, you just yank it right out like that. It's much easier for drawing these. Girls, what on earth are you talking about over there? We get to talk about princess parties. Ellie's little birthday's coming up. She's super excited. She keeps going on about it. But maintenance day, you got to do this stuff, and make sure you have spare broadheads and spare. If you're going to be using carbon arrows, make sure you've got some good carbon arrows, and not just that, but if you not just with carbon arrows. I mean, make sure everything works too. There's another item here, you know, because I get to doing all this crazy stuff, and then I forget to show something, or where I put it. There it is. You got to make sure your trigger mechanisms and stuff like that. If you're going to be using stuff like this, and you're on a higher poundage, you want to make sure all of these things are working correctly, and you can lubricate these to keep them functioning correctly. It's another good thing to know. I think that's about it. That's what I wanted to share today. And this goes into backup parts, general maintenance. If you're into this sort of thing, and this is something that you're into, something I would definitely make sure you stay up on, because we end up in these situations where we rush to go if we have to leave, and we realize something went wrong and it's not going to work now. And it's like, well, our plan has failed. And it's the motto is, it's in leadership, it goes with have a plan and plan for that plan to go off the rail. All right. Anyways, but God bless you guys. Take care.